there's multiple, I think, schools of thought around prevention, reversal, and then maybe I'll just call it treatment, right? Like you're already kind of old, and we're just going to make it as painless as possible, and as enjoyable as possible. How do you look at those three buckets, right? Kind of prevention, reversal, or treatment? And is one better than the other? Is it kind of no, we need to do all three at the same time to get the best outcome? Just what's the framework you use to think through that?
It's a really good question that we could probably spend an hour talking about to give justice. But I will put it in kind of almost like an easiest to hardest terms, where prevention is always scientifically the easiest thing to do. But from a treatment perspective, both getting drugs approved through the regulatory system like the FDA, but also in like choosing which patients to treat, prevention is the hardest. So scientifically easiest, practically the most difficult. Treatment is scientifically, in some ways, the hardest. Like it's much harder to unwind these diseases after they've already appeared. And but from a regulatory perspective, it's much easier because that's how our healthcare system is set up today. It's set up to be reactive, waiting for someone to get sick. And then now we know, like, we can approve a drug to see if, it can, shrink your cancer or something like this. But the sad reality is that we haven't developed enough drugs that can work that well in a lot of people. So like if you look at the past 75 drugs that have been approved in to treat cancer over the last 10 years, the average amount of extra time a cancer patient gets when they go onto one of these drugs is about 2.5 months of extra life, right? Not a huge bonus for the fact that we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year conducting clinical trials in cancer therapy. And so it's not zero progress at all. And there's tons of good discoveries being made, but it's just such a scientifically harder problem than prevention. And then the final one around reversal, like this is in some ways, in some contexts, you could think of reversal as treatment. And so let's say in the context of cancer, reversal probably isn't an option, right? Like once you've got a cancer, you can't just like reverse the damage that caused the cancer from being there, because if you would, it would just be a treatment for the cancer. So reversal is really something that you have to think about in a tissue specific or a disease specific sort of way, where it's like before you have something that's going to definitely kill you, but when there's still time to undo the damage. So it kind of sits somewhere in between treatment and prevention. And so I'll give like a couple of examples here. Like, let's say I'm getting into my 70s or 80s and my muscles are becoming way weaker, right? And my bones are becoming way weaker. So this is now already happening to me. I'm getting less robust, and we could try to use a therapy to strengthen my muscles, to strengthen the structure of my bones so that I don't continue to get more frail, kind of like resetting me back to the point where I was in my 40s or something along those lines. From a scientific point of view, that's harder than the prevention aspect, but not as hard as trying to, put me back together once I've had a fall in my late 80s and my hip is shattered. And then from a regulatory perspective, it actually looks a lot like the prevention part, because again, when we're weakening, but we haven't been diagnosed with a major disease, the FDA kind of looks at all of that in the same way. And so a lot of what we focus on is this reversal and prevention ideas, and we kind of bundle those together into one way of thinking about like medicines that we can use before a true disease happens, that's either preventing damage from building up or reversing it once it's there. That's the same category for us.